Howdy there, Jupiter in the 8th here, and today we're going to talk about two words, and not the concepts, not whatever you believe it is. Just two. We're just looking at the words themselves and what they mean. Okay, and by the way, I'm not tracing this back to Latin. I'm tracing this way beyond Latin. Okay, there's for all you guys who don't know, there is a history beyond the Roman Empire and beyond Jesus' birth, okay? It goes way back, which has been hidden from you. And we'll get into that soon enough. You know, I personally have to further my studies in that area and master that before I start teaching it. So, would that be that? It's just a simple little concept today, a simple little thing you could understand. This just kind of came to me today, okay? And to be honest with you, this is just my own insight on this one. This is not anything I learned externally. But again, you know, if you believe in or have any sense that there's a reality to astrology, and certainly I've been going through a very, very spiritual and very serendipitous transformation, which, you know, I'll share with you in a moment. But I'll share with you after I give you the information up front, because I know people would dislike the video. You gotta dig into the content, okay? So, sorry while I sit down. So I just drew this out for you guys, okay? Krishna, okay? You know, Krishna. What does Krishna mean? It means the greatest pleasure. That's what all the writings about Krishna are about, okay? That's what all the images are about. Pleasure, not pleasure. It does include, you know, sexual, some, you know, everything in balance, but mostly it's a spiritual connectedness. It's much deeper, and it requires study and understanding. And I'm not saying I have that understanding. I'm just saying I've skimmed the surface, and I have somewhat of an understanding of what I'm getting into. But yeah. This, okay? Now, let's look at another word. Christian, okay? It's like the same sounds, okay? And that's another thing to focus on here, is that don't focus on which man wrote this first, or whether, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have the idea that just there's something spiritual, there's some kind of, as some people call it, mystosynchronism, right? Or that these actual vibrations actually lead us back to something, or you understand what I'm saying? That we've kind of lost that sense. We kind of idea of that, you know, the words came from Latin, and that's kind of what we look back to, and a lot of that was just man-made. But again, the idea that even saying certain words like Om, you know, people believe in that, and there's something to that. Doing that in meditation, or, you know, a lot of Indians, I just came back from a festival, and, you know, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, and then and they do it in different ways. They do it in different speeds. They do it with different rhythms and with different style. But they're chanting it, and, you know, do it slow. They'll pass the mic to a woman. They'll do it with different voices. You know what I'm saying? Like they vary it, but to them, that by chanting it, there's something that it leads back to. Okay, and I believe in it. I believe there's something to that. I sense it. Okay, and I'm sure, you know, if you're watching this channel, hopefully you do. And I'm very objective, so I'm not going to be the guy who's going to come out and tell you this is how it is. This is absolutely true. I'm an explorer myself. I'm learning myself. I'm sharing my journey along with you. Okay, so I'm not coming from this. Yes, if you ask me if I believe in it, I'd probably say yes, mostly. But I don't like to use the word believe. I have a high degree of conviction that there is something to this, okay? That's what an intelligent person would say. And not just jump into it like, oh my gosh, that's it. I believe in it. Okay. Christian. So it's just like, okay, let's use this as a divider. You know, that's another thing, a divider, which we all know that I'm not talking about the Bible. I'm not talking about the good stuff, the good nuggets that are in the Bible, and there is a lot of truth and a lot of quality stuff there. But you have to. It's just like the whole idea of the movie Inception. Like there's these small nuggets, these small things that plant the seed in your head. Okay, and that so instead of KRS, they switch it to Christian. Most of us, you say Christian. I mean, do you say Christian? You kind of usually you end up saying Christian. Most people, that's what it's some that comes out. I mean, unless you're walking with Christian, like you have to really enunciate that Christian. People don't do that. They say Christian, right? Just like you would say the name Christian. Hey, Christian, right? But Chris, just like the KRS from Krishna, so the greatest. I'm sorry, I wrote it earlier. I shouldn't have wrote it there. But the greatest. Now this is na backwards. So they turn na into on, right? So the greatest suffering. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. This is backwards because I'm on photo booth. I apologize. My bad. But anyways, you get the point. You get the point. You have to read it. Maybe I'll have to flip this in my. Apologies if I flipped it in my editing. But anyhow, so what's pleasure back? What's the opposite of pleasure? I mean, I'm sure you could come up with other words, but I'm sure suffering would be pretty decent. And considering these are the two, this is one of the major religions, okay, that's of the East, right? And Christianity is the major religion of the West, and even seeping into the East, okay. You can see where there's some kind of metaphysical significance to this, right? To our young country, America, being the really the fertile soil where Christianity really blew up, at least in the last how many ever years, okay? But and then I want to show you one more image, and I might put it. I may put it on the screen, but I'll show you the drawing here, okay? And it's not a full drawing. But this is the basics of, and you can look this up. It's the Masonic first degree tracing board. And again, remember it's backward. Okay, but where there's pillars and there's a sun and a moon, and then it's going from east to west. And some people say that this is Jacob's ladder, and they have other names, other references, throughout religion that draw back to it. But the idea that knowledge going that evolving from east to west, right? But there's just a sense. I mean, I could be completely off on that one, but I will say one thing this is what we need in the West. This is what we need everywhere. Now, I'm not saying the religion, but what are we promoting? Forget religion, forget boxes, forget Krishna versus Jesus versus Muhammad, all this other stuff, okay? Forget about it. Let it go for the first time. Well, actually, just let it go. But for this conversation, let it go. What are we promoting? And I wish I had an image of Jesus just sitting around. I probably should have. But what do you want in your life? Right? You walk into a church and there's that big. I mean, of course, some people make it clean, but there's that Jesus hanging on the cross. And if it's an accurate one, it's a bloody, gross, scary looking one. That's how it should be, because that's exactly what it is. And that's why they pulled those images out. You see, because they know that they can't keep you in the dark anymore. They know that they had to. They know in order to keep you, they had to appeal to you, obviously, and you bring. All you need to do is not. There was a comedian, Tom Papa. I think that was him, and he talks about taking his daughter to church, but what he didn't do, he didn't indoctrinate her first. He just waited till she was a certain age, and then got her dressed up and took her to church. And she was scared. She actually had asked about going to church, and then he took his daughter in there, and she was scared. And then they just left because it was gross and scary. And you're not looking at it with fresh eyes. You're looking at it with your indoctrinated eyes. Okay. And I'm not saying there's nothing to it. There is some stuff in there, and there are some gold nuggets in the Bible, and even in church. And there is something to community, and there is something to having well-meaning and well-intentioned people around you, and singing together and doing all those things are beautiful, great things. And I think everyone should be doing them all the time, at least, and certainly once a week or at least once a month. Those things, those activities are in principle should be happening, okay, for a community. But when you start, it's when you bring in all the ideals that don't work for people, that actually harm them, okay. But anyways, going off on a tangent there, let's bring it back to the topic at hand. What are we promoting? What are you looking at? Think of it just like eating food. You put food nutrients in your body. That's what your body essentially becomes. You absorb those nutrients. Your body uses them. You are what you eat. Well, the same thing applies with your eyes. You could say you are what you eat with your eyes. What you consume or allow in, the light you allow in, the images you allow into your eyes. That's why you need to be just as careful about what TV shows you watch, okay, or consume. You need to be careful about what you read, and just spend your time. It's not that you can't look at the dark things. And I actually encourage you to sort of sample everything a little bit. Okay, there's some horror stuff that I find pretty disturbing, and I keep myself away from that stuff just because of how I'm wired. That stuff will haunt me just one movie will haunt me for the rest of my life. That's the way I'm. But I'm not opposed to watching if it's a little bit scary, or if I don't turn the channel if I'm watching a normal show that gets a little bit freaky. I try to sample everything a little bit, not run from it, and that makes you immune. You don't. That way you need to understand the darkness in order to see the light clearly, right? You can't just dwell only in the light and never ever have touched on the darkness. Okay? I'm sure there are some lifetimes and some some natal charts or spirits that could be born in, like the concept of Krishna, okay, that could be that way. That would be you'd only get to that. You would only become like this after many lifetimes. You'd only become like that after having been in the dark. So you might say that one lifetime someone could actually be in this blissful state or achieve this high degree of enlightenment, or whatever you want to call this elevation, okay? But my point is that's only after many lifetimes. So either way, what we're bringing it back to is you're going to have to sample the darkness. So I'm not telling anyone to run from the darkness, okay? I want to make that clear. But what are you digesting? What are you feeding? Where's your time and energy going? You're taking 10% after the government takes their 30 whatever percent, okay? And your boss slices off whoever, which is, that's just the market, but whatever. Okay, now you got whatever's left for you. And now you're going to give 10% of it to feed the bloody self-sacrificing Jesus, right? Have you even looked into whether that's a real thing or not? And not just from writers and people who want to defend what they've been indoctrinated into themselves. Have you looked outside of that box? If not, I highly encourage you do. I highly encourage it. But maybe it's not for you. Maybe and if you really deep in your heart know that it's not, and that's totally okay. That's totally okay. It may not be for you, and you may be a good person who's just has their own purpose within the church, right? To bring maybe you're watching a channel like mine. Maybe you're bringing consciousness. Maybe you're not fully, seeing what I'm talking about here. Okay, but because you want, just don't live inside of that box, though. Okay, and don't get angry, please. You gotta understand, I'm coming from a good place. I care about people, and yeah. So let me I want to share with you my story. If you're following my channel, I just turned 33 recently, and I attended something called Rath Yatra, and Rath Yatra is the festival of chariots. And I can't really, I'm not going to give the breakdown of what that all is because honestly I haven't researched it enough. But it has something to do with two deities, and this is done all around the world, but it is also done here in Michigan as well. And it was on my birthday. Crazy, right? And then lo and behold, it was my 33rd birthday. I was actually, it was maybe 4+ months ago, I was actually at something called Veg Fest, and which is this big vegetarian festival, or actually vegan, actually. Vegan or whatever, they're promoting both, but and I got this flyer, and I was actually filming there, and someone handed me this flyer. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I'm like, it's on my birthday. I'm like, this seems like it's for me, you know. And there have been other signs, actually one in particular throughout my life that I think maybe I was Indian in a past life. And this gets a little scary, a little crazy, I know, but when I was a kid, and this was like kindergarten, pre-kindergarten or something like that, long before I really knew who Hitler was or really had a full understanding, I'd actually drawn on my hand a swastika. Now, to be honest with you, it was almost like, I mean, I can very vaguely recall it, but what I do recall, well, first let me give you the background, is that, see, here's a little, I can give a whole lesson on this, okay, but the swastika is not what you think it is, okay, and I don't remember it actually comes from Indian culture, long before Jesus, long before all Hitler, and again, this is taking something that was good, and this is what someone out there is doing. They're taking something that's good and beautiful, and then using it for bad, and using these occult symbols and imagery, and putting a bad association to it. So now even today, because I had actually, and this was before I even started becoming more conscious. I was actually deep in the dark, but I was living next to. Actually, I had some Indians living above my apartment. Not here, but I park next. I often would park next to them. I look over, they got swastikas, and I knew, okay, there's something to do with their Indian culture, and I heard about it before, but I was like, man, I'm like, I should tell them, like, in America, you probably don't want to. But then I realized, that's like their family thing. It's like a big deal to them. It's like a very important. It means something. Like, I don't quote me, and I apologize for not looking this up. I wasn't intending to talk about this, but it means something like peace and love or enlightenment or something. It's something very, very positive and beautiful. You're gonna have to look it up, but so this is the reason I think I may have been Indian in a past life, and so I drew that, and of course my I was in a school, a very prominent school at the time, and there's a lot of Jewish kids there. Of course, a lot of Jewish families have money. And there's also some very successful Indian kids. And now, unfortunately, none of the Indian kids jumped in and said anything. But of course, the Jewish kids kind of freaked out. And as I recall, I think that may have actually stimulated an early trip to the Holocaust Center. Because I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not, but. And it even kind of scared me throughout I was like, maybe I was like some kind of involved with, like, maybe I was a really bad person. Maybe I well, I can't, I don't know. I haven't gotten into the whole past, but the reality of it is there's a beautiful symbol behind all of this, a very positive symbol, which we've all been tricked into thinking is a very negative thing, right? So we can't what you won't see is you won't see Indians walking around with that symbol on. I mean, you might catch a small version of it. They may have in their car or something, but you're not going to wear shirts with that symbol on there. They know, right? It's been totally degraded, totally whatever, ruined in terms of people's. No one's going to allow that symbol in anymore because now it means something. They've completely changed what it means to people, and that's a very powerful thing. That's magic right there, people. You want to see You want an example of magic being played out on such a large scale. That's an example of magic. So, yeah. But again, that goes back to what are you looking at? What are you consuming? And that's why I'm talking about the swastika, okay? Because there's two versions of it. There's the original version, which is a beautiful, positive thing, and then now there's this version, which has been completely changed intentionally, okay? And what are you choosing? Are you choosing, I'm gonna put it over here for the right. Are you choosing the greatest pleasure, Krishna? Whether Krishna is a real being or entity, I'm not even here to argue that. It's not even the point. Let's let all those arguments and all those debates, let's just drop them for this because it's not necessary. Okay? Sorry, my video's screwing up on me. It's not necessary. It's not necessary for this, all right? So, or are you choosing the greatest suffering? Literally, and that's what it's about, that they tell you right there. And it actually doesn't make, and this is just my own personal viewpoint, does it make any sense that our example is to suffer a lot? But he suffered for us. So we're supposed to suffer for other people. There's no abundance here. See, that's my issue. And by the way, that's just a bad model for motivating people. Like that's actually seems like the model for putting a spell on people to be demotivated and to not be functioning correctly and not to be thinking clearly and to just suppress them. The cross and the crown, right? Always tied together. That was the original purpose of the church. The original church was a bunch of people who wanted to be wealthy and influential. The priests were major figures, right? That was the next version of not next version, but like a higher is the next step down from king and queen and being involved with royalty. That was a version of royalty in a sense, right? Your eminence, you're this, you're that. People bow to them. That's the way it used to be. That's where all this is coming from. So you got to understand where all this is coming from. So I ask, what do you want for you and for everyone around you? Do you think you should suffer and then that somehow suffer for other people? I'm not saying there's nothing to that, because there is something to not totally suffering, okay, forever, but just there is something to making small sacrifices, small ones for other people's pleasure or gain, as a gift, right? Coming from a more positive place because you're already taking care of yourself, because your cup's already overflowing. But your cup's not going to be overflowing if your core concept of your life is suffering and self-sacrifice. I know I was deep into it, okay, and I'm sure that's the reason that was my path. Because, and I'm not here to convert anybody. I'm not even, I don't know if it's Hinduism or whatever. I don't consider myself any of that, at least not yet. And even if I do, it's not going to be who I am. I am never going to put myself back into one of those boxes. I may study this. I believe that I'm meant to study this now. I was led to it. Let me tell my story real quick, and I'm not going to jump back into any other content. But I had a very profound experience the last 3 years, really. But for my 33rd birthday, I was at the Rath Yatra festival. I was there to do video. I'm a video guy, okay? And I wasn't being paid. I told you the story. I went to Veg Fest, picked up the flyer, led me there. I just knew somehow that was where I wanted to spend my birthday. There was something pulling me there. I'm actually dropping a lot of other commitments, larger commitments. Actually, this was a marking point for a transition. Is the end of 33 also, by the way. I guess I'm going to use this as a teaching piece. Okay, hold on. 33, in case you didn't know, I was just turned 33. 33 or 33, right? Some people use that I know it's 666, but it's what hands are what 33. Okay, just saying. Some people do 3 that way. Also serpent eyes. Anyways, all right. So 33 is the end. Is like the marking point, end of Saturn's return, and this is why Jesus was 33, right? He's when he was on the cross and died. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for those ages, right? Why we didn't see, and don't quote me on this, but why we don't know what happened between the ages of 13 and 33, because those are 2 important ages. That's why they wanted those in those books. Christianity is a consolidation of religions, of pagan religions, right? Astrology, just whatever, all sorts of. It was a it's a business, people. It always was, and they consolidated to make money. It was a pretty good move. It was the greatest consolidation ever. Talking about mergers and acquisitions, I'm just giving you a connection, okay? People talk about companies buying companies and coming together to serve the marketplace. Well, this was the greatest consolidation. You call it the Great Consolidation, and that'd probably be a great name for it, the Great Consolidation. But anyways, so I was doing video, and I was out there in the heat, sweating my ass off, and I was beginning to dance and chant with the people. Everyone who was marching, okay, because it's a chariot, and they have two ropes, and the people pull the chariot. See, it's about teamwork. It's about a metaphorical demonstration of we work together, and then they break the coconuts, and then they're also they have a broom, and everyone, they're sweeping the way out for the gods or Krishna or whoever. I don't even fully understand, and there's constant chanting. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna. Okay, constant. So it just kind of begins to just vibrate through you almost like and it's a very powerful thing. And the same thing can be used for bad things. You see. But anyways, so I was doing video. At some point, I dropped the video. I don't know what he is. I don't want to put him in a box. I mean, I guess. From a Christian upbringing, you might call him a monk, like a Hindu monk, but he's not really. He's just really into this lifestyle. He's just really got the whole shaved head thing and the little piece of hair coming out there, and he did the whole march bare feet, and he pulled me into his little circle, and then we were dancing and just I was just doing whatever. And the vibe and energy of things was just meant to be that way. And then later I kind of walked away. I got tired. Actually, I was overheating, which is part of the experience, is getting real hot and real sweaty, almost to the point of overheating. I don't recommend it if you never are outside or never get hot or never start, your body's never even learned to deal with it. But it's part of it. So you almost get a little bit scared. You're like, but your body's cleansing itself, or your body's using all the nutrients that's inside. It's beginning to overheat. You're beginning to sweat things out, right? You're beginning to release things. Your stomach is beginning to empty, right? It's all meant to be exactly that way out in the heat. That's why they have the festival when they have it. So, I walked away from them, came back a couple times after getting water, but eventually I needed food. So, put my video equipment away, got some food, sat down. I was by myself, and then I didn't really think I was going to connect with these people. Okay, I was just like, I had a good time. We were all just dancing. It was good, and so I got up to leave. Same exact time, I ran into this guy, and then ended up spending a couple hours with him, just going around. He got me hooked up. I got to hug Lord Krishna's idol, or whatever you want to call it. The statue, the big-eyed statue they do. What was it? Just met so many people, got a bunch of free food. He was just teaching me stuff, and it was just and now I'm gonna end up hanging out with these people, right? I've been dying for some good people who are on the same wavelength as me. I've known good people. They're just not. They don't desire to be talking about, and or maybe they do, but I just not whatever. I never vibed with them, right? And I wasn't even at this point when I was hanging out. I've been very isolated for about 3 years. So, and this is a part of my journey. 3 years, Jupiter, 33. I've been seeing 33s and 73s. 3, which represents Jupiter in numerology, 7, which represents Neptune. Okay, and there was clearly something coming. And every time my father calls me, who's a Sagittarius, okay, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Okay, he's like a double. He's like Sun and Moon in Sag, right? Sagittarius. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from, right? And that's also and I probably shouldn't be giving away all my astrology, but I will just say that there's a significance to that in my astrology as well. So, and of course Jupiter in the 8th, right? There you go. So I've given that one away. So there was something significant approaching, and I've been seeing signs for absolute certainty. Okay. It actually makes me kind of sad because I feel like because everything was so serendipitous, like not just signs and just people and everything up to this point. It kind of makes me sad because I'm like, it was that constant reminder, right? It was that something's got my back here, right? Something's saying, yes, you're doing the right thing. You are going in the right direction. And it's kind of feel like I crossed that threshold, and maybe now it's like, well, here's a present. But it's kind of like now I think there's going to be a pullback from the help almost, which is a good way of teaching someone something, right? I probably have a master, what do they call that? Something ascendant, like an elderly in another dimension, like just a teacher that's watching over me, like that's bridging me back to like whatever God or whatever Krishna or whatever you believe in, so anyhow, that's it. That's the story. But again, what do you put in your brain, people? The greatest pleasure or the greatest, and I'm not saying that this is absolutely certain. This was pure instinct and purely information that I believe I'm receiving. So I'm just going to give you that as a disclaimer. There's no external place that I found this from, but I would take a wild guess and say that someone else has thought of this. Okay, someone somewhere has thought of this. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not out there in mass. I had not seen it. So it was information I received. It's coming through me. It's my intuition. So with that, I leave you. Peace out. Namaste. All right. Enjoy.